Welcome back to England Rugby Analyst. Well, we've had the first game of the World Cup and how exciting it's been. Not a classic game in terms of skill or anything like that, but just exciting. A good starting game, I think. England-Fiji. Fiji capable of the upset. Good players, huge players, powerful players. And they've had some time together, haven't they, Fiji? Showed in their scrum, but we'll come to that. But there was intrigue all the way to the end. I love the bonus point system, means there's loads to play for, so all in all, fantastic first game really. I'm saying that because England got the win and the bonus point. If they hadn't got that bonus point, I wouldn't be so happy now actually. So result wise was actually perfect. The way they got there was pretty painful, wasn't it? Really painful actually. Let's start positive before I get hypercritical. But that's what the channel's about, being a bit critical, trying to analyse things. So super positives were Mike Brown, amazing, absolutely amazing. Combative, in that last 10-15 minutes he literally tried to almost win the game himself, or certainly get the bonus point himself. He made breaks, catches, fantastic. In fact the England back three all day caught really well. And the other big performer, I think, in the forwards for me was Tom Wood. I thought he was brilliant. He added that dynamism that I was after again. And the way he read that line out, you know, Fiji had a line out, if you didn't see it or don't remember, Fiji had a line out on their own line, and it's very popular to throw all the way to the back over the 15 because you're only 5 metres away and the opposition are 10 metres away. They actually had Tom Wood in at the scrum half position and he read it perfectly, snaffled it up and England scored. Let's talk about Fiji and their positives. I thought their scrum was really good and they're such powerful men. If they have any decent time together with good coaching, those sorts of things will probably come together. And Fiji scrummaged really well, gave England a great workout, which actually probably in the end is a positive, considering they actually won the game in the end with a bonus point. It was a real positive, gave them a proper workout. They won't be happy with their scrummaging, so that means they're going to have to work a bit harder, so that's actually probably quite good. Fiji's tackling and ball carrying was immense, and for a lot of the time their ball carrying was a lot better than England's. England came into their ball carrying in fits and starts. We'll talk about why in a minute. Their winger, their 11 out wide, he was fascinating, wasn't he? 20 stone, 6'4", handy kicks at goal. Oh, brilliant, can't write that stuff. My favourite point in the match was when the 20 stone winger pointed at the little fly half and said, I'm taking the next kick, because the guy had missed it and then he promptly missed a couple as well. I found that quite amusing. The other thing that amused me was hearing this morning that Binny Vunipola didn't actually even know there were bonus points available in the World Cup at all. So I'm pleased he went for the line and scored in the end by a couple of blades of grass really. It was really close, wasn't it? But you know, it's not actually that surprising, because if you look at one of my previous videos after the first France game, he'd pretty much forgotten the rules of rugby as well, with his offsides and playing the ball on the ground and stuff. So that just amused me a little bit as well. Does he start next game? I don't know. Maybe he should have started this game, not because he played better in the warm-ups, but he was the better ball carrier and that's what was needed. Their Achilles heel, their line-out defence was poor. Their first line-out defence was awful. England just rumbled over it with ease. It got a bit better, but still England made loads of headway in the maul every time. So that brings me to the main criticism of England. Again, if you saw my video against France, same criticism, their strategy. And I need to work out, well, I want to work out if it's Stuart Lancaster or the decision makers, George Ford and Ben Youngs. Because, let's think about it. First game of the World Cup, you're going to be nervous. And they were nervous, and so were Fiji. Hence there'll be mistakes. Plus, really wet and drizzly, very slippery ball. What sort of game plan should you go against? Well, England were dominating in the line-out and the maul, so they should have played a bit of a kicking territory game and some simple one-ers, one, maybe two out-runners, stuff like that. Get themselves into the game. They're technically better than Fiji, and I think they would have profited much better, and Fiji tired towards the end, and then they would have run away with it again. But they started like they did against that game against France. They tried to move the ball really wide, really quickly. I know they've been working on it in training, but it doesn't mean you have to do it every time straight away. And when the ball's wet, it's hard to pass it, it's hard to run onto it at speed, and every time they got it wide, they just got lined up. It was crazy, and you don't want to be lined up by those Fijians. The problem was, for me, was who told them to start like that? Is Stuart Lancaster relying on the decision makers to do that? Well, if he is, then he needed to rely on them to change it, and they didn't change it. It was only at half time where actually they came out and started punching the ball up a bit closer to the ruck, one out runners, that they got going. So to me, that means that the coach has had to tell them at half time to change it, which is kind of how you coach a lower league side or a cult side, isn't it? That's the problem with England. They've got good players. I had a question on my last video saying, what do you think of the squad? And I said, good players. Problem is there's only one 50+ cap. I think there's 2 now, actually. And you look at the other teams and they've got 8s and 9s in South Africa and New Zealand and the likes. And they're not making those decisions in game. So they need to learn super quick. They haven't learned so far. I think I'm going to start calling it Lancaster ball. A bit like Warren ball, because they want to play the same every time. Doesn't matter, you know, regardless of the conditions or the opposition. I think they've got to be smarter. Top coaches, top teams adapt. The Irish coach Smith, he adapts, he changes his team and he changes his tactics for the game. So that's my main point of the video, is they need to be more adaptive. Yeah, I mean, I think Ireland would have changed a few players, and I think Lancaster maybe could have changed a couple of players. It's not wrong to change players. They started with the best 15. The 15 I mentioned who did best in the warm-ups, Lancaster started with. So in some ways you go, fair enough. But just because they're your best players doesn't mean you have to start them. As a coach, you can get sucked into wanting to play your best team every time. And it's not always the case, and that's the best combination. Farrell may well have been better. They probably needed a big ball carrier in the backs, and he didn't select Burrell. And you can't start Burgess yet because he doesn't quite know what he's doing. Fantastic impact. So they were stuffed, really. Their backline had no big ball carriers, and they got smashed, to be honest. And it was only at the end when the game opened out that they really started to play. So a little bit worried about all of it, really. The coaching setup and the tactics on the pitch and strategy there. I think they've got to get smarter. A couple of let's mention the subs. They all came up, to be fair to Lancaster. He saw it was going wrong, he put them all on at the same time, and what an impact they had. Will some of those start the next game? Well, maybe, but again, have a look at the conditions, assess it, and see how to balance them best. You don't just have to start the best performers from the last match in the next match. But certainly, I think scrum half, Ben Young's had a bit of a shocker, to be honest. As a coach, that would have annoyed me, because in the first half it was going wrong, the ball was slippery, the ball was going backwards out of rucks, kicked out of rucks, and that's where you want your scrum half to fall on the ball, tidy it up, be strong, shout at people. And he looked like a rabbit in headlights to me. He looked like he didn't really want to know, which is really, really worrying, because it's not always going to be great. When the ball's going forward, it's quick, it's dry, he's great. But when hit the fan, if you like, he didn't want to know particularly. George Ford wants to play the way he always plays for Bath, quick and fast, and he needs to adapt as well. So I think there's things to be sorted out there. But in general, really good start. Points-wise, quick word about Wales, because I like to follow Wales as well. Foolishly or not, I've accepted an invitation to watch the Wales game at a Welshman's house with some Welsh guys there, so that could either go really badly or really well. I'll take the camera and we might do some filming there as well. That'd be quite fun, maybe. But just interesting having a look at Wales' team for Sunday. Second team, complete second team. He's rested everybody he can possibly rest. And I just think they're scared of more injuries, basically. Which you say is fair enough, but it's very reactive, isn't it? If that was their policy, well, they should have rested them all in the game that didn't matter, the warm-up game, and play a stronger team against Uruguay in the World Cup. It's a World Cup game, points matter, bonus points matter, points difference matters, and they're playing their weakest team. I don't know, could that bite them, you know, in the end? I don't know. If they play a stronger team, they'll get more points, but they're not doing that. It's the World Cup. Don't you want to win by more? And then all their best players will be going into the England game cold. They haven't played, you know, they'll have the nerves. So we'll see if that's a good ploy or not. But anyway, good start for England, rolling the World Cup. I will see you after the Wales game, either very happy or very disappointed. So see you then, and until then, enjoy your rugby.